We did this for Michigan and got some great feedback from y'all, but I want us to do this together right now. What can you expect from the new look Oklahoma offense behind Mateer, Arbuckle, John Kuzieski, Washington State quarterback coach, also on staff now in Norman? We'll break it down right now. First things first, make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. College football, nothing but college football all year round. If you just love ball, man, this is your spot. No additives, no high fructose corn syrup, no preservatives, just ball and only ball. So we appreciate y'all being locked in, being subscribed. I don't want us to do a super in-depth X's and O's, breakdown, nitty-gritty kind of stuff like that. I want us to have just a casual is the wrong word because casual sort of become a dirty word in college football, but I want us to have a high-level understanding of what we're going to get here from Ben Arbuckle's offense at Oklahoma. I think to get a good gauge for this, you look at who Ben Arbuckle is. Ben Arbuckle majors in quarterback play. Austin Reed at Western Kentucky, the guy who lit it up under him. Cam Ward at Washington State also lit it up and then went and lit it up at Miami. John Mateer lit it up last year under him at Washington State. I expect no difference here for Oklahoma going forward. Something that'll jump out right away when you watch Oklahoma in 2025 compared to the season before, there's going to be a lot of juice in the passing game. Now, it may not be the air raid of air raids when you talk about like what Mike Leach, rest in peace, has done and Shannon Dawson and all that, but it's going to be aggressive. Last year, Washington State averaged 9.6 yards a pass. Number 3 in America. Translation, push the ball downfield a little bit. That's a very stark contrast to what you weren't able to do last year at Oklahoma. I totally get some of that as personnel driven, whether it be the receivers being dinged up as much as they were, or the offensive line, or the quarterback being consistent. I get all that, but like to compare, Oklahoma was right around half of what Washington State was through the air. 5.8 yards a pass, scoring only 21 points a game. So Oklahoma now with Ben Arbuckle being able to, or at least in theory, trying to push the ball downfield, what that does is that forces the defense to at least have to honor that. Like if I know that you're going to be trying to attack my safeties and I have to account for the vertical shots any given play, I can't be as aggressive when I try to play the run. I can't be as aggressive when I get those those shallow routes underneath. I have to honor that. So what that does is that creates space underneath for John Mateer to work, for the receivers to work in space. A Deion Burks in space might not be the worst thing in the world. There's a lot there that I think is opened up by being so aggressive. It's like when you throw haymakers a lot in a boxing match. This is not me speaking from experience. Never been in a boxing match, but I've seen my fair share of Jake Paul fights. When you throw some haymakers at the chin, yeah, you might want to keep the hands up a little bit more, Bubba. So when my hands are up so much, guess what I can't do? I can't throw shots back at you. I have to be a little bit strategic. So all that's to say, I think that's going to benefit Oklahoma in a massive way. And quite frankly, it'll just be more fun to watch to see the aggression downfield from Mateer, Arbuckle in this offense here in 2025. Now, I say that, and there might be a small part of the Oklahoma fan base that says, okay, more aggressive, spread concepts. Yes, I like where this is going, but there might be some PTSD from the Lincoln Riley era and saying, hey, we appreciate what that was. We appreciate the success we had on the field, but the tempo and the attitude of our team was very different than what we come to value here in Norman, Oklahoma. Because as much as I think Lincoln Riley is going to have success at USC long term, you brought Brent Venables in because he embodies what you want your Sooner football team to be, which is hard-nosed, gritty, blue-collar in a sense, hard work, all those things. Like that's what I think Oklahoma football at its core wants to be. So you're saying one thing, but then you're also saying we're going to push the ball downfield. Kind of feels like verbiage we heard around the Lincoln Riley era, no? Well, I see where you're coming from, but you look at what Ben Arbuckle was at Washington State, they still made a priority of running the football. 54% of the time, Washington State was toting the rock. And I think when you look at what Oklahoma has in this backfield, there's some cause for optimism around the need to get their running backs the football. So I don't think it's a thing where you just totally abandon the run game and try to, air it out to beat your opponents. That'll be a factor, but you still, I think, will be a pretty run-centric team in a lot of ways. Piggybacking off of that, you're going to be creative and more dangerous because now you have a John Mateer at quarterback for you, a dude who ran for a little bit under 1,000 yards last year at the quarterback position. So, yeah, what he does off script we'll talk about in a little bit, but the way that he can carry the mail for you in design quarterback runs or in the option game or whatever, That's something else defenses now have to worry about and will only make you more dynamic with whatever else you want to do with your running backs or throwing the football downfield, because it gets the defense a little bit scrambled, right? The more I can make you worry about different ways I can attack you, you have to worry about quarterback run, the vertical passing game, and our running backs. Okay, that's a lot on your plate during the week for a game plan. Now, if you got Cato Nose back there running the alley, you might be in trouble. I mean, dude's all multiple-time all-conference safety. I'm just saying, though, I don't think Cato's suiting up for any of these teams that Oklahoma's playing this year. So that's good news for them. As a viewer, though, of Oklahoma football, I think the nice thing for Sooner fans is you can now watch a game and have a little bit of this yes and mentality. Like last year, I think there was a lot of hope in trying to out-scheme defenses or hoping that you had the right game plan dialed up to attack some weak spots. And I think Ben Arbuckle will do a great job of that. But what we just alluded to a second ago with John Mateer, even if that game plan isn't perfect, y'all, he is good enough as an athlete and as a improviser to make it happen and to get you into a positive play, even if the play may not be positive in the moment versus that specific scheme. He's a guy that, the X's and O's at a certain point won't matter. I'm not saying he can just take over any given time he wants and play all willy-nilly. I'm not saying that, but I am saying with what he does whenever the play breaks down, you can still have optimism that something good is going to happen, which wasn't the way that you felt a season ago. Like Michael Hawkins Jr., as good as an athlete as he is and as dynamic as he was at times for Oklahoma, when the play broke down, you're holding your breath a little bit, crossing your fingers, right? Just get us out of this sack, brother. Get us to 2nd and 4. And he did a good job of that at times, but it wasn't consistent enough to make you feel great whenever the play broke down. I think there's going to be a feeling of excitement whenever a play breaks down for Sooner fans here with John Mateer running the show. So the last thing I'll say here about Oklahoma and what the offense is going to look like in 2025, it's going to be really versatile. Like you look at the numbers and just what Washington State was last year with Arbuckle and Mateer, they were as good, it felt like, against teams that would drop 7 or 8 into coverage versus teams that would try to apply pressure to John Mateer. Like what that says to me is they're going to be really versatile. And when you're versatile, usually that means that it's your offensive coordinator having a good game plan and also giving answers to your quarterback within that game plan. And then within that, you're trusting your quarterback to find the right answer with the game plan that you've presented to him. So that's a really roundabout way to tell you that I think Arbuckle is going to empower John Mateer to run the show out there. Like any given play, I think John Mateer will have a variety of options he can go to, which isn't super uncommon for an offense in college football. But when you give a guy of John Mateer's caliber the options from Ben Arbuckle, that's going to, I believe, make it very difficult to defend because of what I just mentioned. You want to drop 7 or 8? We got to play for that. You want to bring pressure? We got to play for that. We have a check for that. We have answers for that. Something that you didn't really have as much a season ago. It felt like they were very much so dependent on having the right call for a specific look against different defenses. So it'll be very hyper-driven by the quarterback. It'll be very much so dependent on John Mateer. But guess what, man? That's why you brought in the Norman. That's why he's going to be your quarterback. You didn't bring him here to be like an added addition to the pieces that you have already in play. You brought him here to be the temperature setter, to be the catalyst, to change the entire outlook of what Oklahoma was offensively last year. Oklahoma doesn't accept mediocrity on offense. They don't accept 21 points a game, especially not with who's been quarterbacks there previously. In the modern era alone, like Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl champion Jalen Hurts now, or Jalen Hurts, excuse me. There's a lot there when it comes to the quarterback play from an expectations level. And if you watch this show, you know that we think very highly of John Mateer, and by translation, we think very highly of what Oklahoma can do here in 2025. Love the offense. I love the attitude of the offense here, being aggressive with Arbuckle, giving John Mateer options, and also still wanting to run the gosh darn ball, man, which I think Oklahoma Sooner fans will appreciate. So weapons got to stay healthy, got to translate all those things, but the offense, I'm buying stock. I'm buying stock here as we move into 2025, and I can't wait to see it. Cato also buying a lot of stock. I want to make sure that that's on the record here because Cato, our producer for the show, who does a phenomenal job, first team all program kind of job, very high on John Mateer, and we'll chop it up some more about that, I'm sure, on Thursday's show. But just making sure there's a healthy amount of alignment on this side of the camera when it comes to our belief in A1 John Mateer.